So you already know who it is. Last episode,
We talked about why.
this time, let's talk about how we lasted 910 days. Welcome to Love's First Kiss.
Because it was worth the wait.
I'm Donovan.
And I'm Deanna.
And we are back in the upper room for another great conversation.
Yes.
What did we talk about last time, love?
Our last episode was like, why did we do it? Why did we wait to kiss and have sex? You know, we didn't want to like dishonor God. And now today we're talking about how did we do it? What are the things that we did that kept us, out the bed, but just, in fellowship with each other until the time was right. And that was when we got married.
Yeah, because remember, the why is because we wanted to honor God, but at that time we're still just starting a courtship.
Yeah.
So we're just at the point of saying, I like you, you like me. Possibly we could be a family, but no copyright YouTube. We're just enjoying ourselves. But we
no problems.
We're starting this courtship, and I would say one of the things that when we talk about the how is we stayed in the word, we stayed connected to the word, we stayed immersed in the word, we stayed at the church when the doors were open. We didn't live there, but if there was a Bible study or if there was a conference, we were just thirsty to learn all we could, to sponge all we could. And for me, if you recall, at that time we were technically unequally yoked, spiritually speaking, because you had spent some time in the word, you had rededicated your life. That's how you evangelized to me, that you had enough word in you, you had enough Jesus to say, look, this is what's changing my life. Because she caught me at a very, very dark time, where I could feel it. I knew I needed help. So her sharing was just spot on. But during that time, I had to, my learning curve had to be accelerated. And then I was so thirsty. It was so new and it was so rich. Like once I found the gospel, I knew this was the truth. And there was no reason for me to focus on anything else.
Well, one of the things that I prayed about for my future husband was that I wanted a man who was going to be on fire for God. So one of the things that I noticed in yourself was that like you were just hungry. Like you said, you were so hungry. You just wanted to know, you wanted to absorb everything. And I remember, you having a conversation with some brothers at the church, and they were just so impressed with the wisdom that was coming out your mouth. And they're like, man, how long you been a Christian? You're just like, it's only been a couple months. And they're like, wow. But yeah, we were both hungry for God. We didn't grow up in Christian households. So it was like this new thing, of the Lord, and just wanting to know and wanting to do it right. We happened to go to a singles conference where they were talking about the appropriate way to like date and courtship and how you should handle yourself as a single. So it was mind-blowing. I remember just saying to myself, man, I got saved and now I got to learn this too, like Lord Jesus, because it challenged my flesh. It challenged how I presented myself in the world. Basically they're like, okay, you don't dangle for the kingdom. You keep it holy. So it was just all these things that was just new. And we were just hungry to learn and hungry to do it right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say too, it's not a dangle, but it is a presentation, like
Dangle.
God put Adam to sleep and then he presented Eve to her. There was a presentation, and that's what we needed to learn, what that presentation was. And even as a young man, to learn what a woman of God being presented to you is, because everybody has a dream and a word, and you're supposed to be my wife. And those are not always wrong, but, God God speaks to all of us. So it's like, well, he told you that I'm supposed to be your husband, but he didn't tell me that you're my wife. So we're not going to even go there. And some people can be dumb deep about it. I'm glad that we didn't have that experience with each other.
Right.
The relationship was able just to grow mutually, platonically, over our fellowship with the word. And I mentioned it in the previous video, the diner at the base of the hotel that had those delicious cakes.
So, we were centered around the word. Not only that, a lot of times we hung out in groups. We did not want to isolate ourselves early on, just, oh, you and I, it's a date. Even though my flesh enjoyed, like, oh my gosh, just, you and I. But, it wasn't the right, or, I don't want to say the godly way, but it wasn't the appropriate way that we were taught about how we should, handle ourselves. So we were in a lot of group settings, which was cool. So we used to go to this diner all the time to get cake. And honestly, we'd go after Bible study, and just, like, I guess, discuss what we learned in church. So, we made sure that we hung out in groups. We centered ourselves around the word.
Yeah. And I would say before I made the announcement to her, uh, and God did it very eloquently in a poem that I have. We may share it with you because I did get a chance to perform it. So I do have that video. We may plug it in a later episode, but we were able to. I think before I made that presentation, we started to enjoy spending time with each other, and that's where the scales fell off my eyes, and it's like I really like her. And I think you said, based on what your cousin had shared with you on your list, the one thing that I did that was like, oh my God, is it really him? Did we already share that with them? Did you
No, we didn't. I think that's definitely going to be another episode of how did you know that I was the one,
yeah,
and how
yeah.
did you know vice versa, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so we've already walked them into the why.
Yeah.
Two people made a decision. We said that, you know what, I like you, you like me. I do want to date you. I want to start this courtship. If this leads to marriage, um, I want the you may now kiss your bride to mean something.
Hmm.
And I don't want to compromise our relationship. I don't want to
Yeah.
compromise our friendship
Hmm.
by doing something that would damage the fabric of our relationship.
Hmm.
Now, how did we do
How did we do it?
it?
Well, like we said, we well, when we really started dating each other, courting each other, we made sure that we went out a lot of times in the day. We
Yeah,
didn't really do a lot of night, like, oh, let's go to some nice candlelit restaurant in the night, like in the back of the corner in the booth.
right.
Nope. A lot of dates that we had were in the day, and it was around a lot of people.
So I would say this. That was one of those, and this is a big word. I won't say a big word, but this is a word that some people kind of shun because they come from the world where it's do what you feel, just kind of go with the flow.
Hmm.
But we had to set up boundaries.
Yeah.
We had to set up boundaries physically. We had to set up boundaries mentally, and we had to set up boundaries spiritually.
Yeah.
And for us, I would say that a lot of stuff that we did that we're going to share, we did out of um, not ignorance, but the wisdom of God. Like we didn't have
Hmm.
these are the 5 steps and the things you do.
Right.
We did have material that we looked at. We read a book, I believe, by Joshua Harris called I Kiss Dating Goodbye.
Hmm.
So that was shared with us. So we took some pointers from that. A few other I remember one minister came and we bought his book, and I think I still have it. It may be behind me on this bookcase
Hmm.
here, but it was called "Your Wife Is Not Your Mama." So just straight to the point. Like I couldn't tell you everything that book said now, but I'm sure it has some things in there on how to approach your wife and how to approach your wife while you're courting her, while you're dating her, things to look for.
Hmm.
But those boundaries that we set up were, like she said, not going out late at night like we were accustomed to in the world.
Yeah.
The movies, man, we really
Hmm.
were. Um, you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, just in a casual conversation,
Yeah.
but just about how we were guarding our gates, our eye gate, our ear gate, and then also what came out of our mouth. So we didn't even engage into a lot of innuendo as well either. There was not a lot of
Hmm.
joking about it
Yeah.
because we didn't want to awaken any parts of it. Because once I saw that she was beautiful, of course those fleshly desires are going to be there, but by setting those boundaries up, you never get past the point of, okay, the thought came into my head.
Hmm.
Now I cast that thought down and I continue to look at
Yeah.
Deanna as sister Deanna.
Anyway, kind of just piggybacking of what he was talking
Oh.
about guarding your gates. Music is so influential.
Mhm.
Music and television and film, they have a message. It's entertaining, but there's a message behind it. So, a lot of the songs that we grew up with that we love, the message was sex. Let's get busy, let's do all the things. So with that, our minds were becoming renewed because we're reading the word of God, which means that certain things that we used to like, take delight in, this wasn't going to benefit us if we were going to try to do this, without being tempted. So there was a lot of CDs. Maybe I'm dating myself. A lot of CDs we had to put away because it was promoting sex.
Mhm.
A lot of films that were out, we didn't want to see because we didn't want to have that image in our mind that planted a seed of lust. So we watch something on the screen, and then we want to go ahead and reenact that. So we made sure that we were vigilant. I remember one movie we went to, and all of a sudden this sex scene pops up, and I never get it. We both literally kind of like did this, and we closed our eyes, and we like covered our ears because we didn't want to hear the
Mhm.
sounds of anything. And then we finished watching the movie. You guys are probably laughing and saying, man, they don't take all of that. But man, it was serious for us at that
Yeah.
time.
And it does take that,
Hmm.
and I recall during those blockage times, you would be looking at me to be the one to peek to see if it was safe for you to watch. And I'm like, I'm the one that's, I'm the man here with these raging hormones. I don't want to peek. You take a look and let me know if it's safe to watch. Can we go back to it? So we did run into a couple of those movies, and I mean, and you know, the true romance that you see, obviously things in a book and things that's scripted is not like how it operates in the
Mhm.
natural in real life all the time. But sometimes seeing those stories, they are heartfelt, and you do see the realism of life and the true budding of a relationship, because the movie always ends as they come together for the final time. I
Mhm.
always knew it was you. So it's like, we didn't just run from those things, because then we would just be walking around with blindfolders on. We were in this world, but we knew that we didn't want to be of this world
Yeah, yeah.
and compromise ourselves during that time when we said, because you know how you can make a decision on a diet, a fast, certain things like, man, I'm not going to eat cake for the next 3 weeks. Well, what are you going to see for the first 3 days that you decided that?
Cake.
Cake, 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 cake. Are you serious? The world is going to see, oh, you serious about this diet? You're serious about this workout plan? Let me throw the distractions in. So we decide, man, we're not going to kiss because we don't want to fall the into sexual sin before we get
Hmm.
married. And then I think I might have already said this, but know this, like, when we started our courtship, we didn't start our courtship with, we're going to get married in 2 years.
Right, right,
No,
right.
we started our courtship with, let's see. Like,
Hmm.
I've spent time with you. Let's take that next step and say, hey,
Hmm.
could this be my wife? She's showing all the qualities. She's beautiful. I enjoy spending time with her. When that phone rings, and this is when cell phones were flip phones, so we're really dating ourselves. It was flip phone. And
Sorry.
I remember my ringtone. You remember my ringtone?
No.
Ray had come out around this time, so
Well,
yeah. I got
I
a
don't
woman
want way
way over
over
town, because
time.
that's where she was at. She
That's
wasn't
good
she
to
wasn't
me.
living with me. We weren't shacking up.
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I got a woman.
Oh
I
yeah, I do
remember
remember
my
that.
my little
Yeah.
cousins used to love that too. When my phone used to ring, they wanted to sing it with us.
So yeah, so another thing that we did, which it wasn't a challenge for me, but like we didn't take any trips. And you
Oh
always like to
no.
do those things, like, oh, let's go here for the weekend. We took no trips, no getaways. Yeah, we were getting away in that word.
Yeah.
Yeah, no trips at all. Because again, if we were isolated with nobody around, all we have is each other and all our lovely desires. Yeah. So we decided to not go on any trips because it wasn't going to benefit us at all.
Yeah. Also, another how is the physical touch. Like we mentioned in the previous video, we were the pitter patter king and queen. Side hugs. Did I want to hug her? Full on. Of course I did. Yeah. This is. a woman that I'm dating, that I'm courting, that I'm starting to see as mine. When people see us out, we went from being Donovan Deanna to Donovan and Deanna.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw one, people were like, "Where's the other one at? Where are they at?"
Yeah.
We started serving in the same ministry at church, the drama ministry, which
Mhm.
she dragged me into.
I didn't drag him, y'all. He happily came. Okay.
But I was always behind the scenes. I love
And then
fooling with the
eventually he made his
mics.
way on stage.
Well, yeah, yeah. They made me do it. They made me do everything.
Needless to say, no trips for us.
Yeah.
It was too much of a temptation. And honestly, like even as we were dating, we weren't even really thinking about that. We were just really just enjoying the time with getting to know each other and honestly getting to know God and just, grow closer to Him. The focus was God, the focus was Jesus. We just wanted to get it right. We wanted to honor Him. We didn't want to dishonor Him with the bodies. Like I said in the previous episode, that we learned that our bodies are the temple and Jesus bought it with a price, and it was
Hmm.
just like, wow, He owns this body. So it's like you can't just do what you want to do, and that's what the scripture says, like, it's mine. So with that, we wanted to honor God and just do the thing, but do it right.
Yeah. And ultimately, it starts with a decision.
Hmm.
You have to make the decision that
Yeah.
this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
Because the how, you could get how to points, and we could give you a list and, pointers, and just, hey, we are the standard and you want to live up to what we're doing. And no, we're not the standard. We're just one example
Yeah.
of many that have decided to walk it out right and, enjoy the fruits of that. And it starts with the decision.
Yeah.
So there is no how without a decision, and from both parties. If, like she said, if I fought her on this decision, well, does she want to continue that courtship with me?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be constant pressure, and it'll be subtle pressure, because I would, you know I don't know for sure, but in the world, I think I was a man who had decent game. I knew how to woo.
With your little pretty eyes.
I knew how to woo
Oh,
a
he got pretty
female.
eyes, y'all.
How
Sorry.
to chivalry was something that I was raised with.
Hmm.
So I didn't grow up in a traditional Christian home, but my father did teach me and my brother how to respect women,
Hmm.
how to respect our fellow man, just in general, just how to be good men. He taught us how to do that, while making sure that we memorize Psalms 23 and Psalms 91. So there was a scriptural foundation. We were one of those families that had the biggest Bible you could think of. I think I've heard somebody call it a Schofield Bible. I don't know if that's what ours was, but
Mm.
I mean, open it up, and yeah, if you were blind, you could read Psalms 23 in this Bible. And that's what my father had, but he was raising boys to be men. So as far as being able to say to a young lady, "Hi, my name is Donovan. What are you doing this Saturday? Can we hang out?" But I could have used those tactics, but I knew that that wasn't what it was supposed to be. So
Hmm.
there was no need to fight her on it, because we were in agreement. So we made the decision, together, to say, "This is how I see you. This is how I feel about you,
Hmm.
and this is how I would like to move forward with you. Do
Hmm.
you agree?" And it was, "Yes, I agree,"
Yeah.
because we don't want to dishonor God, who just saved us, who just gave us this knowledge of this new life. So we're coming out of the world. So now, why would we go back and date as the world dates, court as the world courts, and get ourselves into other things that's too deep for this podcast?
Yeah. I think that's the challenge nowadays is, you know, women and men want to be married. Uh, but especially I see that, how can I say this? People love God, but they don't want to do it his way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's the part that saddens the Lord, is that, like, there's a reason why God said this. He didn't say it to ruin our fun. He didn't say it for to be mean. He understood what happens when you don't do it that way. And you're seeing a lot of people now. I feel like people don't have the patience. This takes a long time, or we're living in a generation where everything is quick,
Hmm.
and this takes time. To really learn someone, it takes time. I work with young people, and one of the things that I always encourage them with is when they're talking about the people that they're dating. I was like, you got to take the time to get to know who they are before you start doing all the things. So, I hope this video episode encourages you that it's worth the wait.
Hmm.
It's worth taking the time. It's best that you take the time to get to know that person without any sexual stuff involved, to at least say, hey, I really like you. Or you know what? I don't think this is going to work. You guys can both leave the situations with your head held high because you didn't have to, do the thing.
Right. All right.
I'm sorry, I just kind of like abruptly
Yeah,
ended.
so,
So,
I was agreeing. I was giving the amen to it because she was preaching good, and as we said before, and we'll probably say this during every episode that we sit down and just have this conversation, is that there's no condemnation.
yeah.
We can't stress that enough. There's no condemnation. There's no judgment. Um, Man, for the first 24 years of life, I did not get this right
Hmm.
at all.
Hmm.
It was not something that I even thought of. It was not a desire, hope, like, yeah, I'm going, abstinence. You didn't know what those words meant. Celibacy, like, what's that? Not to be too vulgar, but a young men, we were trying to get our rocks off.
Hmm.
And I think one day, and this helped me, and especially when I got introduced to the Lord. This was one of those foundational things, is that I was sitting around with a group of friends one day, just all men, young men, and we were just talking about our quote unquote conquest. And I mean, I literally had an out of body experience, and then I'm in the room, but I'm not physically there. And I'm just looking around, listening. After I had chimed in, I had joined it. I'm not going to act like I was just like, oh my God, this is appalling. No, I was a part of the conversation, and I shared some things that, in hindsight, I wouldn't do, and I definitely wouldn't share, because I wouldn't want those things done to my daughter, my mother, my wife, or even then shared in a public setting. But it was like, man, that's what it's all for. Everything that we're doing in the world is to have a story to tell. To say, man, one day I did this, or one time I was with them, and we did that. And it was like, is this really what life is about?
Hmm.
Because I am a young man who got to see his parents, my father, fulfill his vows till death do his part. Till death do us part. He was married to my mother until the day that he passed, and actually passed in the bed with her. Not to make this all somber, but for me, it was modeled before me. So I knew that when I do find my wife, and this is just as an ungodly man, I knew that I wanted to be faithful to my wife. I wanted to be the type of man my father was, to his wife, my mother, and to his children, my brother and I.
And for me, it's a little opposite. I didn't come from a two-parent household. I came from a single-parent household. So for me, I have my father, but he wasn't present in, raising me on a day-to-day basis. And, as young ladies, sometimes we look for fathers in men. We look for that leadership in men. So for me, I really didn't have, strong role models in the area of seeing a successful relationship. But the beautiful thing, what I love about God, is that He gives you what you need. And He came from a two-parent household. I didn't. So I got to receive the love that He has received from both parents. Whereas, I didn't get that opportunity. So I get to, experience the fruit of that with Him. So I'm very blessed. I love you a lot. I do. I
And
love you a lot. I
and
just felt the unction just to say that. Like, I love you a lot.
and this is not just something that we found, but this is what I say. I love you more. So if
Oh,
you love,
Lord Jesus. So, as we wrap this up, one of the things that I just want to echo is that, you got to see God to hear from Him on what you are to do. We shared with you the things that worked for us, not going out at night, having dates in the day, hanging out with groups, not taking any trips, not having any intimate physical contact. Those are the things that we did. And if you were encouraged by it, then hey, by all means do it. But at the end of the day, seek God's counsel on what it is that he would have for you and your, prospective partner or fiance, whoever it is that you're in a relationship with, what you would do. So yeah.
Well, but go ahead and drop us a like, for the algorithm.
Yes. And we would love to hear your comments. On one of our other videos, we're getting some really nice comments about the material, and we would love to hear from you. What are some things that you want to hear from us? What questions do you have that we did not answer? Please put it in the chat, and we would be happy
Yeah.
to oblige and to answer.
Yes, and share this out. Don't be hesitant, but I do encourage you and ask you to please share it out.
Yeah. Did you say subscribe?
I didn't, because that's not my line.
Oh, excuse me. And subscribe to the channel if you like this material and it's encouraging you. We would love to have you on the Love's First Kiss Club, and so subscribe to the channel.
So hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime we drop new material. When we drop shorts, I found a love for breaking down some of the content that we're doing and dropping shorts. But man, ultimately, we are having a great time.
Yes, we are.
We are having a great time. And we see the challenges that the enemy is trying to bring to stop us and discourage us from doing this, but it won't happen. We will be here once a week, every week, with new content, new material for you guys.
Yes.
So God bless you. Thank you again for your time. I'm Donovan.
And I'm Deanna.
This is Love's First Kiss.
Because it was worth the wait.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Fluff out your lips for me. I like the red.
I'm going to put it in your cheek.
No edit.